was. Julius Hobson ran for vice president. So I'm looking at these people on CNN thinking they cute. You know, these black folks get on and say, oh, you know, she isn't the first. She isn't the first person to run. The first person to run, and this is true, Carlotta Bass, again, another member of one of your crafts, the great journalist out of the West Coast, California Eagle. She was indeed, her name was put in nomination for vice president. And then, but then somebody said, well, you know, she is the first to run for vice president, to be on a ticket, who graduated from HBCU. Yeah, Julius Hobson graduated from Tuskegee. Y'all should do a little bit of research before you get on. Just say the first person from a major party. And, you know, I mean, don't, you know, because people such in a rush to be, but my point is, she's one person. You can't pin your hopes on one person. What happened since Donnelly and them put together the Black Politician, and now, is that Black politicians have moved largely from individuals who were expected to represent their constituency. Charles Diggs out of Michigan, John Conyers out of Michigan. You know, earlier than that in the 1930s, Oscar DePriest, Arthur Mitchell out of Chicago, the great Adam Clayton Powell out of Harlem, who said, I am Black America's congressman. And you're supposed to represent the people. It moved from that to individuals who, when they attain some achievement, we project onto them the group agenda. No, they never said they represent the Black community anymore. This the trick bag we got caught up in with Obama. But the reason I bring this up is because in this issue, summer of 1971 issue, Shirley Chisholm writes an essay called The Role of the Black University. And it's I was rereading this the other day because Shirley Chisholm says, in order for us to make progress, we're going to have to come together, love each other, think differently, and move as a group. Now, and she said at these universities, particularly at Black universities, you've got to be a Black university. It's very interesting. She says Black universities can lead in the recovery and recreation of Black culture, history, art, and tradition. It should be a center for the study of non-white cultures, a source of vitality. She said Black universities should be organized around solving problems that affect our people. She was unashamed about that. Now, this is 1971. Remember, they met in 1972 in Gary, Indiana, for the National Black Political Convention. There's a very good small book on this by a brother named The Defeat of Black Power, Civil Rights and the National Black Political Convention of 1972. It's a very interesting book this brother right here, Gerald Moore, wrote. And, you know, I don't like the title because I'm like, I'm Black, we want power, we still alive. We talking about the defeat of Black power. What he's really talking about is the fact that the Gary Convention, which I encourage everybody to really study, that is the high water mark coming out of the 1960s. The mass movement that really wasn't led by politicians, which is why one of the things that, you know, Adam Clayton Powell didn't like about King and them. Powell was like, who elected King? No, bro, you know, you're a politician and you for us, but our people in the streets, and those things have to work together. Well, coming out of that movement into the 1970s, after the Voting Rights Act has been passed, they decide, can we get together and get a Black political agenda? We need the politicians, so the Congressional Black Caucus people come. We need the Black nationalists, Baraka and them are there, Jesse Jackson is there, Queen Mother Moore, reparations. Queen Mother Audley Moore, you know, I've been reading these books and people have now discovered Queen Mother Moore. And I love it when like young people who are writing their first books and stuff like that say that this is a person who is invisible. I knew Audley Moore. A lot of people did. Don't say people, just say you didn't know about it. Anyway, Queen Mother Moore is at the reparation. Everybody's there in the same room. Can we hammer out a Black agenda? One person who was not there, Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm, this is 1972. Shirley Chisholm is contemplating a run for president. She is the first Black woman in the United States Congress. She is sent, and now at this time, of course, you got the white women's movement. I'll call it the women's movement. Let's be clear. Gloria Steinem and them, you know, I mean, she's partnered with Alice Walker and others. So you got some Black women around. And you mentioned Eatonville, of course, the reason Zora Neale Hurston has a gravestone is because of Alice Walker. So this ain't no shade on Alice Walker, but I'm saying Gloria Steinem and them have an agenda. Betty Friedan and them have, you know, but in 1972, they're looking at Shirley Chisholm and say, oh, she's representing women. And then Black people saying, oh, she's representing Black people. Shirley Chisholm says, I'm a double minority. She writes about it in here. She says, I'm getting heat from all sides and I'm representing myself for these constituencies. But she doesn't go to Gary because in the same 1971, when she's writing this about Black University, she goes to a planning meeting for Gary and gives the work to the Stokes brothers out of Cleveland, to these guys, because she got some men with her. Percy Sutton was one of the guys. Percy Sutton said, I'm backing Shirley Chisholm. But these other dudes are like, wait a minute, you just got here. What you talking about? This guy. And remember now, they after Adam Clayton Powell, they're gonna put him out of Congress. He gets reelected. But so Shirley Chisholm is like, I'm not waiting on anybody. So she had that, she was an assemblywoman in the state of New York. So I'm not coming here taking no back seats. Are y'all crazy? And, I'm against the war. I mean, and she said, I don't know if Black people can come together because we are too politically different. We have to. So what you see is Shirley Chisholm is a very complicated figure. And so what happens after 1972, which is why Moore writes his book, The Defeat of Black Power, he says, after 1972, you really see this move by elected officials, particularly at the federal level, kind of away from this notion of a united front group politics. Because they say they really can't work it out with the Black nationalists who are saying, I don't even know why we're going to vote, but I'm willing to come to this meeting if we can come together with an agenda. But what's happening is, and in the years since, what has happened is, this is why I mentioned Cedric Johnson's book, From Revolutionaries to Race Leaders. What you see is Black elected officials appealing to multiracial constituencies, really in the thrall of big money in politics, get further and further away from the idea of a Black agenda because they're being pulled by these very powerful forces that say, if you want to keep this office, we need you to do X, Y, Z. So they fight around the edges. They do what they can do. I think our sister out of California, Karen Bass, is an excellent example of that. Karen Bass comes out of that tradition. Karen Bass comes out of the West Coast. Karen Bass is out there. She's a healthcare professional. She's traveled to Cuba. They trained doctors and nurses in Cuba. Then they made her eat her words to get on the ticket, and then they didn't pick her after that. She's really an activist. Then she runs the California State Assembly. She probably would have been the best pick if Joe Biden was looking for somebody, if he dropped dead, to be the president of the United States.